So a couple days ago, I gave you guys my Eastern Conference tier list for the 2026 NBA season. So you were expecting this today. We're going to be doing the West side. And this is definitely the superior conference right now in the NBA. So what we have is 6 different tiers. You can probably figure out what tier number 1 is going to be. 84-20 record. Yeah, if you know, you know. Next up, we have the Thunder Slayers, which is pretty much a hint to the first tier. We have playoff bound, play-in bound, fringe play-in, so maybe like the Blazers or the Suns from last year, and then Darren Peterson is the bottom tier. In the Eastern Conference, I just had it as June 2026, which is the month that the NBA draft will be in, and I expect Darren Peterson to be the number 1 pick. So that's what some of these teams will be eyeing throughout the NBA season. So before we get back into today's video, I'm really excited to say that this video is sponsored by Vuori. A couple weeks ago, I talked to you guys about Vuori, and I talked about my past usage of the clothing brand, and I even proposed in Vuori as well. So that's why I was really excited when they reached out and wanted to work with me to showcase their product to you guys. I'm even wearing their Stratotech tee right now, and I could wear it wherever. I could be working out. It could be in a casual setting. I could just be walking around. It could even be a night out as well. I could wear it no matter where I go, and that's what I just love about Vuori as well, how versatile it could be in my day-to-day life. And actually growing up, I was not a big jogger guy, but over the last few years, I've enjoyed wearing them, and they're Ponto joggers that you could see me wearing here. I have fallen in love with, and I pretty much haven't taken them off since I got them. They're that comfortable. And it's not just their joggers or their shorts or their meta pants that I love. I also love their core shorts or the pull over hoodies as well. It is the most comfortable hoodie that I've ever worn, and I could also just wear it any time of the day, and it feels amazing. Vuori is designed for movement and built for life. It's inspired by coastal California, and it's made with the intention from fit to fabric. So if you want clothing that you can just wear no matter the time of day, that you're going to be comfortable in, and you're going to just look good and just feel good throughout your day-to-day life, Vuori is the place to go. They're going to be in the description and the pinned comment below. I can't recommend them enough, and thank you again to Vuori for sponsoring today's video. And funny enough, we're going to start off with the Utah Jazz. This is an easy Darren Peterson tier. This team is projected to be the worst team in the Western Conference, although I do expect it to be just as bad as it was last year. I do think they should be a little bit more exciting. I know John Collins, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson were the better players on that team for the most part, outside of Markkanen and Kessler, but they're all gone now. They're giving more minutes, playing time, and shots or opportunities to the young core, which is something they probably should have did a couple years ago, but it felt like they were just being too competitive. First year with Will Hardy in that 2023 draft, they go 37-45, and they end up with Taylor Hendricks, who's a fine player, but you would have felt a little bit more optimistic about the future if they got a Brandon Miller or Wemby or an Amen Thompson in that draft. I'm excited they landed a blue chip prospect in Ace Bailey. He could be one of the worst players in the top 10, but he also can rival Cooper Flagg as the best player from this draft. Like, I don't think Con Knippel is ever going to be better than Cooper Flagg, but he can be better than Ace Bailey. But I do think Ace Bailey has a chance to be better than Cooper Flagg if he reaches and maximizes his fullest potential in Utah. They have some expiring contracts like Niang, Martin, and Nurkic will be off the books. Markkanen has been playing great in Finland for the or during the Eurobasket League, so maybe he's gonna have some trade value. Maybe they think they could just keep him going forward because he was really good for Utah a couple years ago, and then I feel like the play's been dropping off as the team hasn't been getting competitive. But look at all the young core pieces, right, that you could be excited about. Hendricks coming back from an injury. Cody Williams can't be much worse in year number 2. Keontae George, if he could put it together and just be a little bit more efficient at the rim within the three-point line, he could still be a good combo guard in this league. Walter Koyden, Kyle Filipowski, who dominated Summer League. Bryce Sensabaugh is on a lot of people's radars as a big breakout candidate next year. Isaiah Collier as well. And then I think Walker Kessler should get extended by this team before the season starts. I think he's one of the more underrated defensive players and rim protectors in this league, and he could end up on an all-defensive first team or second team in 2026. So even though they're in the Darren Peterson tier, who knows? Maybe they play really well as a collective unit, and the young guys are just hungry. They're flying around, and they're just staying healthy out there, and they could be like last year's Portland Trailblazers. There is a chance that can happen because who knows? There's a team like Memphis or Sacramento or the Clippers, like one of those teams could just be like the Pelicans of last year, the Grizzlies of 2 years ago, and just have a ton of injuries and are at the bottom of the West when we didn't really expect them to before the season started. So next up, we have the LA Clippers. So I'm going to project them with Kawhi Leonard still in mind. Now, if Kawhi Leonard got suspended 40 games for this whole scandal going on with aspiration, and we really have no idea what the punishment will be, if there is even going to be one, Kawhi was hurt for most of the first half last year, right? And they were just fine. They ended up winning 50 games in a tough Western Conference. I think they are playoff bound. I don't think they're the Thunder Slayers right now, but I do think out of all the teams I'm going to have in playoff bound, I like them the most to be in this tier 2. I'm trying to figure out what would be the best lineup that you're going to play late in games, right? It's probably Kawhi and Zubats, and you got to have Derrick Jones Jr. out there for the defense, and then you obviously have James Harden out there, and then do you slide in a Bradley Beal, do you slide in a Nick Batum, a John Collins, who can really optimize this team going forward. But I think they objectively got better this offseason, adding Chris Paul, keeping Derrick Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn, adding Brook Lopez, and adding John Collins with Bradley Beal. I know it's going to hurt losing Norman Powell just for a little bit, but this team should be better than it was last year. Maybe not in the win totals, but I do think they are going to end up going to the playoffs next year. They were one game away from beating Denver in round number 1, and I think I like them to at least go to 6 or 7 against OKC in round number 2, but you could see a little bit of age regression. This team has had playoff variance or injury variance in the past, and you never know with Kawhi and Harden, and Chris Paul is going to be 40 next year, and who knows with Bradley Beal as well. And we also haven't really seen Kawhi be like 2019 playoff Kawhi in a while. We haven't really seen James Harden string together a ton of consistency in the playoffs as well. So yeah, I'm just going to have them in playoff bound right now. I like the team. They're just a team that I need to see it before I can believe it, and I was skeptical about them last year. I don't want to be a Clippers hater because I really like the Clippers, but with everything going on, it's a weird offseason, right, with the Kawhi Leonard situation. So yeah, you could have guessed it. 84-20 was pretty much the Thunder's record last year, taking into account the playoffs and the regular season. They go 64-18 in the regular season, and then they win 16 playoff games because they won 68 regular season games. I don't know why I said that. And they ended up losing 6 times in the playoffs across 2 different series, 3 against Denver, 3 against Indiana. They're most likely not going to have to play Indiana next year. I don't think the Pacers would make it to the finals without Tyrese Haliburton. They could definitely meet Denver again, and that could be a tough test for them. And this team won 68 regular season games, like I said, in a very tough Western Conference. And it's not like they had the best injury luck in the league. It's not like they 2023 Sacramento Kings injury luck on their side. Chet missed so much time last year. Hartenstein missed a lot of time. Alex Caruso missed a lot of time as well. And I just feel like this team will be even better suited next year. It sucks that Thomas Sorber tore his ACL in a workout. What is with the Thunder draft picks in the first round having just horrible luck? Chet Holmgren from the 2022 draft. I know Trey Mann was fine and Cason Wallace was fine in 2023, but Topic in 2024, Sorber in 2025, it stinks. Topic will be there next year. They extend AJ Mitchell. They still have some big man depth. Hartenstein's still there. Chet and J-Dub got extended. But who's to say this team that won 68 games last year, I don't think they're going to win 70 this year, but Shea's not even maybe hit his ceiling yet. Like, he's in the middle of his prime. You could see a leap from a Cason Wallace this year, from a J-Dub again. Like, what if he can emerge as an all-NBA guy again, but on a higher scale? Could they get anything more out of like a Topic this year? An Ousmane Dieng, a Jay Will, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins. This team is so deep, and it's got such a good defense. They're bringing everybody back besides Dylan Jones. Like I said, it sucks that Thomas Sorber tore his ACL, but it's okay for them right now. They could definitely pick up a center throughout the year. I thought it'd be funny if they were just like, you know what, let's sign Al Horford. But no, they trust Hartenstein, Chet, and Jay Will. We saw J-Dub be his center at times last year. And if they do suffer a major injury to like a Chet Holmgren or Hartenstein in the first half, they have plenty of assets and ammo to go out and get somebody. They are under the second apron, so they can go into the buyout market as they please. I'm actually putting them in tier 1. In tier lists in the past, I've had them kind of on the same tier as a couple other Western Conference teams. But right now, I want to respect the reigning champions who won 68 games, who kept everybody from their elite defense and young core last year, 84-20. Lone tier in tier number 1. So next up, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. I kind of like the Grizzlies a little bit more than the consensus next year. For now, I'm just going to throw them in the play-in. And who knows, like, what if Ja Morant, like what he showed in the second half, could just stretch that out over the course of the regular season? We've seen that before in 2023 and 2022. And this is a team that, yes, traded away Desmond Bane, but they still have solid depth on its roster. Now, the one thing I am worried about is Zach Edey could be banged up to start off the year. Same with Jaren Jackson Jr., and it's just like deja vu, right? With G.G. Jackson last year, so many guys have been hurt. Vince Williams in the past, Ja Morant obviously had some injuries over the last few years, and this is a team that maybe lacks a little bit of like rim protection, physicality inside. Santi Aldama, who didn't have the best Eurobasket, isn't really a guy that's going to play some low post defense and really be a bruiser down low. So if you're without Zach Edey, it's up to Brandon Clark, who's also had his injury concerns. We may see a ton of Jock Landale to start off the year. I just love the wing depth, though. I think Gigi Jackson is a prime breakout candidate. No injury going into this year. He's going to have a full training camp, a full preseason. And I feel like that's just all the factors that limited him last year. He was thrown into a different roster in January with kind of a healthy Grizzlies team relative to 2024. Jalen Wells hopefully should be good to go to start off the year. He was somebody that, had a scary injury to end last year, but looked alive and pretty healthy and consistent in Summer League. You have Scottie Pippen, newly acquired Ty Jerome. You got some guard depth behind John Moran. KCP can't be much worse next year as he was last year with the Orlando Magic. I like them. Like, Jaren Jackson Jr. got paid, but once again, that injury could affect the start of the season for them. They could end up as a fringe play-in, but I kind of like them as a play-in next year, and I think they are better than some of these teams. But it's going to be tough. Like, I think I'm going to have to map this out again at the end of this just to see. I think New Orleans is going to be a fringe play-in team next year. I don't know. I just think they're a lot more talented on paper than Utah. But it's such a big if with this team because that means I need Zion Williamson to be healthy. And are we going to see that? Nobody really knows. But Zion Williamson has potential to be better than a lot of guys. He has potential to be maybe the second best player out of all the teams we've ranked so far. Like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the best player out of these 5 teams. But then Zion, I think, could be better than Ja. He could be better than Markkanen. He could be better than Kawhi. That's how good I think Zion Williamson could be if he could just stay healthy. This team added Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen throughout the draft. They have Trey Murphy, who was a big breakout star last year. They added Jordan Poole this offseason to at least soften the blow offensively with DeJounte Murray out for probably the first half of the year. Herb Jones should be healthy again, and hopefully could just be as reckless as he was defensively like he was in 2024. They had maybe the worst big man rotation in the Western Conference last year. It was up there with the Phoenix Suns and the Lakers post-AD trade. And now they added Derek Queen, Kevon Looney, and you have year 2, Yves Missi. They have plenty of wing depth with Jordan Hawkins, Murphy, and Jones, who we talked about. They add Saddiq Bey as well. Like, this team has loads of depth. They are better than I think Utah. I think they could be on the same tier with Memphis. I just got to see them put it together. I think they're going to be a respectable fringe playing team, and they could definitely make the playoffs, right? Like, fringe playing is like everything goes well, and that's the Zion factor, and I think they can get into the play-in, and who knows? Maybe they go up against Memphis. Maybe they go up against one of these teams we're going to talk about down here, and I could like their chances depending on their health, depending if they don't trade people at the deadline, which I don't think Joe Dumars is going to go. Same thing here with the Sacramento Kings. They're a tough team to predict as well. Now, I like Sacramento just a little bit more than New Orleans. Now, I think New Orleans has a higher ceiling by far than Sacramento. Sacramento just has a higher floor because I trust LaVine, or more so I trust DeRozan to be healthy and kind of just give you 22 points efficiently. Sabonis is still an all-star level talent at the big man position, monster rebounder, an amazing offensive hub in the low post. It's just, can he anchor your team defensively as your big man? No, he cannot. But this team can score a lot of points next year. They could be a top 10 offense as long as they keep Malik Monk, right? Like, you add Dennis Schroeder. They wanted a point guard after the Fox trade. Now LaVine could play a little bit more off ball. Maybe they add a Russell Westbrook. We'll see. Could we see a Keegan Murray breakout? And then, like, this core right here, Devin Carter, Nee Clifford, Keon Ellis, Isaac Jones, Maxime Reynal. I like a ton of those guys that could be huge role players and just make this team a little deeper. They could withstand injuries. I still don't love their big man rotation right after Sabonis. It's Sarge, it's Eubanks, and then it's a second round pick, Maxime Reynal. Didn't like the Valanciunas trade, but I still think they're a playing team. I don't like between these 3. I think New Orleans, Memphis, and Sacramento could be very close to each other. But right now I'm going to throw Sacramento in play-in. I'll talk myself possibly into another team. We'll see. The Lakers are going to join their similar or the same city team in the Clippers in the playoff bound tier. Now, I don't think this team is better than the Clippers, but I do think the Lakers got better this offseason. I also don't love that you're putting so much stock and faith and pressure into a 41-year-old LeBron James in December. It's just like, yeah, he could still be an All-NBA guy. He could still be an All-Star next year. It's just like so much, right, on a 41-year-old. Now, Luka looks slimmed down. He looked phenomenal in Eurobasket, and he's still a top 5 player in this league. So that's just elevates their floor. He's going to make Rui better around him, Vandy better around him, Austin Reeves better around him, who's in a contract year. I mean, Aiden's going to be better than Jackson Hayes or just their big man rotation last year. They had Alex Len out there at one point in the second half. They like Maxi Kleber to space the floor. We'll see. He has that connection with Luka in Dallas. They both came over in that trade. You add Marcus Smart to be that point of attack defender, that stopper for you. And could they get something a little bit more out of Dalton Connect like we saw in the first half? Could they get anything out of a Dude Thero? Maybe Bronny. Probably not, because you have Gabe Vincent and you have some other guards. I think they're in that playoff bound. I don't think they're as good as the 2 teams I'm going to have in the Thunder Slayers. You could probably guess who those 2 teams are. I think I slightly like the Clippers a little bit more than the Lakers. I think they could be similar defensively. I just like the playmakers that the Clippers have defensively, and I think their gap defensively is a little bit higher than the gap offensively, although the creation and just like the high octane like engines of the Lakers offense that can just make everybody around you better in LeBron, Reeves, and Luka is so much better than the Clippers. But I just think there's less variance with the Clippers. Hey, if everything's clicking for the Lakers, yes, they could go to the conference finals, they could play the OKC Thunder. I just think there's a lot of ifs in that as well next year. Dallas is such also a tough team to figure out next year. I want to say that they are a play-in team, but I like Dallas more than I think the consensus, because this team should be so good defensively in the first half. Like, them adding Cooper Flag, really, it's just a life raft. Like, this team was headed for maybe a dark future after the Luka trade, and Cooper Flag just raises this. Now, I wonder, say the first half doesn't go their way, Kyrie looks kind of iffy coming back. Is there a chance in a year from now, AD and Kyrie aren't on this team and they're just resetting this roster around Cooper Flag, kind of like they did post-Dirk with Luka Doncic? It's a possibility, but like I said, this team defensively in the first half, you're probably going to have D'Lo or Jaden Hardy as the one, but then you have like Cooper Flag out there, maybe Klay Thompson, and then you have like PJ Washington, Gafford, AD, Lively, like that mix defensively. You're not scoring on that group of versatility, rim protection, and just overall physicality in the half court. But yeah, how does that floor spacing work? It's very iffy, but this team can withstand injuries. Look at all the wing depth they have. Flag, Klay, Caleb Martin, Najee Marshall, Max Christie. It is so deep. I like Brandon Williams last year as well. They bring back Dante Exum. They just recently released Olivier Maxence Prosper. I think they're a playing team. I think they have a higher ceiling maybe than maybe the Clippers or the Lakers. If Kyrie comes back, if like 85% of what he looked last year, if Cooper Flag is legit, rookie of the year, can be an impact player in the playoffs, who knows? Maybe they could beat the Lakers or the Clippers in a playoff series if AD is healthy. There's just way too much variance right now, and just I feel like such a wide range, because what if AD gets hurt? What if Kyrie doesn't look the same? What if Cooper Flag struggles from downtown to start off the year? And then we're just asking a lot of questions for a team that could eventually sell at the deadline, but we'll see. So Denver, easy Thunder Slayers, right? Like, you could put them on a tier 1 with OKC because they have the best player in the world, in my opinion, in Nikola Jokic. They had a phenomenal offseason. We've talked about it so much, adding Cam Johnson, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jonas Valanciunas. Deron Holmes is basically coming back. The internal development of Christian Brown, of Hayden Watson, and Julian Strawther can really catapult this team back to the NBA Finals. I thought they were going to go back in 2024. It's Dallas. In 2025, they were definitely maybe the best team to go up against OKC. And Jokic almost single-handedly beat OKC with MPJ on one shoulder, them not fully trusting Strawther. Aaron Gordon had one hamstring at the end of the series, and Russell Westbrook was just kind of all over the place at times as well. So I do feel like Denver, after all the additions they made this offseason, with Nikola Jokic, and maybe nobody can really stop Jokic in this league, but maybe you could just send doubles, let other guys beat you. That's what OKC would have to do. I mean, it was such an entertaining round 2 matchup, and who knows? If Aaron Gordon doesn't have the hamstring injury in Game 7, you never know what could change, right? I do think they were one game away last year. They're definitely in position to be Thunder Slayers again this year. And then San Antonio. I think they're going to be playoff bound, but I don't think they're that much better than Dallas, as everybody's talking about, right? Now, they're going to have the best player, most likely, in that game. I think Wemby's going to be better than Anthony Davis this year. De'Aaron Fox played less than 10 games last year with Victor Wembanyama, so I'm really excited to see those guys together. There's a reason why they gave him a max point guard position to be that main ball handler for them going forward. Even if Stephon Castle doesn't take like an offensive leap, he's still going to be an impact player as a connective piece, as a defender, as a help defender, transition defender. I loved what he did defensively for kind of a bad team last year. I know Dylan Harper might be hurt to start off the year, but he's still going to be a positive bench player for you. And you just hope like Vassell, Johnson, Harrison Barnes, like these guys, even like Carter Bryant, who we may not see a ton, Jeremy Sohan could just be solid shooters around Wemby. Love them adding Olynyk and Luke Cornett to be just depth pieces behind Wemby. God forbid there is an injury or he does miss some time next year. They probably have an extremely high ceiling, maybe a low floor if Wemby does suffer an injury. I believe they're going to make the playoffs, though, just because I believe in Wemby to be an All-NBA first-team guy next year. I don't think I could put them in the Thunder Slayers just yet, although it would be cinema if we had, like, round 1 seed OKC, 8 seed San Antonio with a healthy Wemby and Fox. I mean, that is must-see TV. Next up, we have the Houston Rockets. Yeah, they are a Thunder Slayer as well. This is a team that added Kevin Durant this offseason after being a 2 seed last year. we're all watching how good Alperen Şengün has been for Team Turkey in the Eurobasket. They're in the finals. I'm recording this before they play Germany. He is just going to be such an effective post-score inside presence now, with a lot of the defense, opposing defense, focused on Kevin Durant, one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, maybe the greatest scorer in NBA history. So Şengün is going to have the floor opened up way more for him. They have solid veterans, like really solid veterans around those two, and Fred VanVleet, Adams, newly acquired Dorian Finney-Smith. And then what about the leaps that Jabari Smith, Shepard, Amen Thompson, and Eason can take? I don't think all four of them are going to take leaps, but there's a chance Amen Thompson's an all-NBA, like, fringe guy this year. That is a possibility because he could be on an all-defensive team again. They just gave Jabari Smith Jr. a hefty extension. Reed Shepard has to be better next year than he was last year. I believe in him. They have depth on the perimeter and, like, Jayshawn Tate, Okogie, who's a good defender, and then you add Clint Capella as, like, a third center this offseason if you don't want to play Steven Adams back-to-backs. I love their head coach, Ime Udoka. What they were missing last year is the guy to give the ball to in the fourth quarter. And who knows, if they had Kevin Durant against the Warriors, maybe they end up winning. They were down 3-1, and this young team came back, and now they basically swapped out Jalen Green for Kevin Durant. And Dorian Finney-Smith could just probably be like 85, 90% of what Dillon Brooks was for you last year. So I think it's tough. I still like Denver because of the Jokic factor over Houston, but I like Houston more than the LA teams, more than San Antonio. There's just going to be so many entertaining games in the West. Like a random Thursday night game between like Houston and San Antonio is going to just feel like a playoff game, and I just can't wait for the West next year. I think Phoenix is going to be a fringe play-in, and honestly, they really can't be in the Darren Peterson tier because they don't own their first round pick. It's a swap after a swap, so they're most likely going to get like Orlando's pick next year, which isn't great for a team that is in a retool phase, right? Like they trade Kevin Durant, they buy out Bradley Beal. Jalen Green could go great for them, and then we're maybe talking about an exciting like 2 to 3 year outlook for the Suns. But what if it just doesn't materialize? What if it just doesn't look well or anything different from what it was in Houston? He just doesn't blend well with Booker in the backcourt. Then you're on the books for maybe $72 million over the next 2 years. What if Dillon Brooks doesn't look as good as he did over the last couple years in Houston? Allen and O'Neal could be off this team after the deadline. And what if Mark Williams can't stay healthy? Kaman might not be ready. And this team could get kind of gross real quick. But I do think Devin Booker has at least a more balanced lineup around him. Blend of offense, blend of defense. But I think the big X factor is Jalen Green. The center rotation, it can only be better, right? You can make an argument they had the worst center rotation last year, and it's going to be better with Mark Kaman and Nick Richards and Oso Ighodaro. I love the pickup of Nigel Hayes from overseas. I just think like the blend around them will be better. It's just, can Jalen Green be a good enough number 2 throughout the regular season to get this team to like 36 wins? Like the Suns from last year. Just get around 36 wins. You're not giving up the best pick in the world, and you're okay going forward. But what if Booker gets hurt? What if Green can't handle the workload? And now you're giving Memphis a top 5 pick in the 26th draft. It would be a disaster, but I think they want to win next year given that they don't own their first round pick. For Minnesota, they are a playoff bound for sure. You could say, Matt, they were in the conference finals the last 2 years. How are they not in tier number 2 with Denver and Houston? You can make an argument they got worse this offseason. They lose Nickeil Alexander-Walker to Atlanta. They draft a project center in Johan Berenjay, who's not going to play like in the playoffs. It's going to be Gobert or Naz Reid, right? Kind of as that 5, and Gobert is going to be a year older. Mike Conley didn't look great last year. He's a year older as well. What is this point guard rotation? It's Rob Dillingham. Maybe it's a little bit of DiVincenzo. Is Anthony Edwards just going to be the point guard? So that's just kind of looking at the negative side of this team. But you could be like, all right, Julius Randle showed that he could be an impact player in the playoffs. Anthony Edwards was arguably the best 3-point shooter in the league last year and a top 10 player in the league. 24, he could take a leap this year. He could take like a Luka, Tatum, Shea level leap and could be a top 3 player in MVP voting and carry this team to a top seed. DiVincenzo had that toe injury last year and it was a new environment. He could be more consistent this year. McDaniels could take an offensive leap as we saw at times in the second half throughout certain stretches. And could Terrence Shannon Jr. or Rob Dillingham or Jalen Clark kind of take a leap because Nickeil Alexander-Walker is gone. Those are all possibilities, but we saw Denver be so much more competitive against OKC than we were with Minnesota, and Minnesota went through the Lakers, which I predicted them to win, and then they went through Golden State, which I also predicted them to win, but Steph got hurt in that series. You could put them here, and I'm not going to really disagree with you too much. I do think they're better than San Antonio. They're better than the Lakers. The Clippers, it gets kind of dicey. I think I would have taken the Clippers to beat Minnesota if they matched up in round 1. But I'm going to say both these teams, playoff bound. It's just the Anthony Edwards factor. Can he take a leap? Like, he was like 7th, 8th best player last year. Can he go to like a 2024 Luka or Shea when they were rivaling Jokic down the stretch for an MVP award? That's the big X factor. And then obviously the smaller X factors of Shannon Jr., Dillingham, and Jalen Clark. Golden State, I kind of want to put them in play-in right now. But I also, like, I'm okay with putting them up there with San Antonio in a way. Like, let's look at this roster. Right now, they have 10 guys on their active roster, 9 without Jackson Rowe on the two-way. And it is, what, September 13th? Now, Kuminga's going to be on this team, or they're probably going to get a player for Kuminga. They're most likely getting Al Horford, Seth Curry, and DeAnthony Melton. Probably Gary Payton back as well. And this roster is going to look deeper for sure, and it's going to be better than what we're looking at right now. It's just Steph's going to be 38 this year. I don't think Jimmy from 2023 is walking through that door. We would have saw it in round number 2 against Minnesota. He's making up a lot of their cap. Draymond's going to be a year older, and he's going on his offseason talk tour, talking a lot of smack, so he's got a lot of pressure. He's got to write checks that Steph has to cash, basically. The Buddy Hield experiment was all over the place in the regular season. Got off on a great note, struggled, but had his moments in the playoffs for sure. Pods, I think, will be better. They got some big man help, right? Like, you're most likely adding Al Horford that I talked about. It's just like, can they be better than San Antonio? Who's the best player in that game? Is it Steph? Is it Wemby? I don't know, man. It's tough. Like, playoff bound. I mean, right now we have about 3, and then we have 8 teams. Like, these would be the 8 playoff teams, and these teams are losing in the play-in or just getting out of it. So I might have to drop a team into fringe play-in as well, because I do think Portland is going to be a fringe play-in team, which is tough as well, because this team was so exciting in the second half. They won 36 games throughout the regular season, outperforming their preseason win total. Now, you add Damian Lillard this offseason, but he's not going to play for you. You buy out DeAndre Ayton. Now, I thought Donovan Clingan was fantastic defensively in the second half last year. Can he have that workload being your rim protector, the main piece of this defense, which can, like, really deploy some great defensive lineups with newly acquired Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons. You have Toumani Camara, who was an all-defensive player last year. This team could be good, but X factors are Scoot and Shaedon Sharpe. Can one of those guys take an offensive leap, or is it going to be all on Jeremy Grant and Denny Avdia next year? You draft Hansen Yang, who's a little bit more of a project player. I expect him to not really be a rotational player right away. I'm expecting it to be Clingan or Robert Williams. Both have injury history, so Yang can definitely get in there. Dwap Reith, if he's on the roster next year. Can they get anything out of, like, Wesley, Murray, Ryan Repair? It's just such a good conference, but I do think they have a higher ceiling than Sacramento, maybe even Memphis as well. So when I look at this right now, I think there's one true tanking team. New Orleans doesn't own their first round pick either from that Derek Queen trade. I talked about how Phoenix doesn't own their first round pick. I don't think they want to tank. I think, like, Portland is okay, just seeing the young guys progress, but still ending up with a good pick and then kind of going all in with Dame back in 2027. But they need to see Clingan, Sharpe, and Scoot, like, take some type of leap. More so, I guess, Clingan defensively to be like that Walker Kessler leap from a couple years ago, or maybe for Scoot and Sharpe, yeah, taking those offensive leaps. These teams have so many question marks. I think I'm going to drop down Sacramento here. Now, if, like, Devin Booker gets hurt, they're joining this tier. If Zion gets hurt, I think they're joining this tier. Even if, like, Sabonis gets hurt, I think they're joining this tier as well. But I think all of these teams are going to fight for a playing spot, but I think, like, the 9-10 seed can be, like, Golden State, Dallas, Memphis. I think these will be the 8 playoff teams right here. OKC being a 1 seed, Denver 2, Houston 3, or that could swap in some way. And then you got basically 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 in some way, shape, or form. And I hope you guys did enjoy this Western Conference tier list. Thank you again to Viore for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to check them out down below. I can't recommend them enough, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.